All of us grew up reading Arthur Koestler, Robert Heinlein, Aldous Huxley, George Orwell, and they were all saying the same thing. Once you start censoring, you're on your way to dystopia and totalitarianism.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about RFK Jr. being labeled anti-Semitic for some comments he made about C19 and maybe even the vaccine. Now, this is completely ridiculous. Look, I'm not going to vote for RFK Jr. He is a Democrat, and he says some things I don't agree with, but I'm not going to call the guy racist or anti-Semitic because of some things that he said. This is ridiculous. This is the exact same thing they're doing to Trump. They know that Trump is a threat, that he is the leading candidate out of everybody. So they want to try to get him locked up or have the appearance of him possibly getting locked up to discourage American voters from going out there and voting for him. Same thing with RFK Jr. They see him as a threat to the left. He could challenge Biden. So rather than just trying to argue him fairly, they're using the politicos and they're using the mainstream media to try and silence him. Now, before we go any further into it, let's watch a clip here. Let's watch a news clip. I will link to it, of course, in the box, as always. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio. Go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Here in the U.S. now into Capitol Hill, where Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who was challenging President Biden for the Democratic nomination, argued today that he is not a bigot after a controversial recording of Kennedy surfaced. Here's Mary Bruce.
Today on Capitol Hill, Robert Kennedy Jr., the Democratic presidential candidate and son of the Kennedy political dynasty, called by Republicans as their star witness in a hearing on government censorship.
But I am being censored here.
Kennedy, who has espoused bigoted anti-vaccine conspiracy theories.
Bigoted anti-vaccine conspiracy theories. Are you guys hearing this? Bigoted and anti-vaccine. How do those two things link? We're going to see what they say. We're going to see how they spin this.
Now on the defensive after he was caught on camera saying COVID-19 may have been ethnically targeted to attack certain races disproportionately.
COVID-19, there's an argument that it is ethnically targeted. COVID-19 attacks certain races disproportionately. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese.
Kennedy today accusing his political opponents in the Biden administration of trying to shut him up.
Anti-Semitism, racism, these are the most appalling, disgusting pejoratives, and they're applied to me to silence me.
I mean, it's totally crazy. Like I said, I'm not a fan of RFK necessarily politically, but I like some things that he says. I think I like him as a person. I wouldn't really vote for him. But what I'm not going to do is lie and say that he said anything that was racist or anything like that. And we're going to get into a little bit more. They got a sister or somebody out here that's going to say that he did something wrong, but they don't like him anyway because of some vaccine stuff. We're going to get to that in a moment.
But Kennedy's own sister, Carrie Kennedy, is speaking out against him, saying, "I strongly condemn my brother's deplorable and untruthful remarks." Still, RFK Jr. today, defiant.
In my entire life, I have never uttered a phrase that was either racist or anti-Semitic.
But the White House strongly disagrees, saying Kennedy's recent statements are vile and put Americans in danger. And they say the president will always speak out against these kinds of false claims about Asian and Jewish Americans.
Is that a Hatch Act violation? Is that what that is? Because you're speaking that against your particular political opponent? But maybe we don't cite that all the time. I don't really know what's going on. Let's keep on going.
David.
Mary Bruce tonight. Mary, thank you.
That's the end of that clip right there. Okay. Now, can we get to some reality just for a moment? Let's get to a little bit of reality. Now, what happened was RFK was simply citing a peer-reviewed study in which they said what he said. All right, let's watch this full video of what they were speaking about. And then I'm going to link to the actual study right here. So if you guys are your scientists or your medical experts, you can read it and glean something from it. And here is the caption that's on this particular study. It says RFK Jr. never said it was designed to spare Jews, quote unquote. He stated facts about susceptibility to COVID for different ethnicities that he had read in a 2021 study. He also said we don't know if it was deliberately targeted. And the study's right there. And I will link to this study that I got my mouse over in the description box so you can read it for yourself. If you're on IG, link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. Let's watch this full clip. Let me keep on rocking.
And we need to talk about bioweapons. The level, I know a lot now about bioweapons because I've been doing a book on it for the past 2.5 years, and you know, the technology that we now have to develop these microbes, we've put hundreds of millions of dollars into ethnically targeted microbes. The Chinese have done the same thing. In fact, COVID-19, there's an argument that it is ethnically targeted. COVID-19 attacked certain races disproportionately. The races that are most immune to COVID-19 are because of the structure of the genetic structure, genetic differentials among different races of the receptors of the ACE2 receptor. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. But we don't know whether it was deliberately targeted that or not. But there are papers out there that show the racial and ethnic differential impact to that. We do know that the Chinese are spending hundreds of millions of dollars developing ethnic bioweapons, and we are developing ethnic bioweapons. That's what all of those labs in the Ukraine are about. They're collecting Russian DNA, they're collecting Chinese DNA, so that we can target people by race.
So, one thing that was very popular during the scandemic, plandemic, whatever you want to call it, when Anthony Fauci was like the talk of the town, what did they say? Trust the science, believe the science is what they said, right? That's what they said. Trust the science, believe the science. I mean, you have a guy who is clearly scientific. He's speaking about things that he's read, speaking about facts, speaking about things that are actually happening, speaking about labs and papers and studies and things of that nature. And then what does the mainstream media do? Oh, you're anti-Semitic. Why is he anti-Semitic? He said that he doesn't know if it's something that is specifically done, but when you're talking about who the virus impacts disproportionately, these are the groups. This is just what the data say. So why are we trying to say that he's somehow racist for simply citing a study and citing facts? Why are you going to say that what he's saying is untrue when there's a whole study that backs up what he's saying? If what he says is untrue, then the study is untrue. Rather than attacking him, why not attack the study? I don't really understand. All right. It's just really it's really silly. Let's keep on going here. We got a couple more clips to get to. This is pretty important because there was a hearing about censorship, obviously, that RFK Jr. attended, and he dropped quite a few gems. If I can find the full thing, I'll link to it in the box for you guys. But here's a caption from ALX. Shout out to ALX. RFK Jr., a government that can censor its critics has license for every atrocity. It is the beginning of totalitarianism. There's never been a time in history when we look back and the guys who were censoring people were the good guys. Very, very on point. Let's hear that in his own words.
A government that can censor its critics has license for every atrocity. It is the beginning of totalitarianism. There's never been a time in history when we look back and the guys who were censoring people were the good guys. All of us grew up reading Arthur Koestler, Robert Heinlein, Aldous Huxley, George Orwell, and they were all saying the same thing. Once you start censoring, you're on your way to dystopia and totalitarianism.
Very, very well said. Now, there's one more clip here. Oh, this is very good. Let's check it out.
Trusting the experts is not a function of science. It's not a function of democracy. It's a function of religion and totalitarianism, and it does not make for a healthier population.
Very well said. Shout out to RFK. I see why they don't want him to be out there. I see why they don't want this guy to have a voice. I see why they're trying to censor him. He's just spitting too much truth. If I was a Democrat, as I close, if I was a Democrat, I'd vote for him 100%. If I was a Democrat voter, I would most certainly vote for him over a Joe Biden. I almost might want to say there's some guys in the Republican Party that I would not vote for before I vote for him. Because you got a lot of guys in the Republican Party, Mitt Romney, for example. I mean, they just might as well be Democrats. So it's like, why even have them there? I'd rather have a guy like that there over Mitt Romney. But again, he still has some issues. You know, he still was talking about, well, if you're anti-science, then that's a bad thing. He still has some issues. Okay, so I'm not sold on RFK Jr. as a person I would actually vote for right now, being who I am. But again, if I was a Democrat and I was voting in this election as a Democrat, I'd vote for him over a Joe Biden for sure. And I think that the mainstream media, the political establishment, they know that about their own people. They know that they're tired of this 1,000-year-old guy stumbling, fumbling, bumbling. They know people are tired of him and they want to change. And RFK Jr. could most certainly be that change. And they don't want that. They want the regime to remain the regime. Point blank, period. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what RFK Jr. said here? Was he on point, off point, whatever your thoughts are? Let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. What he said was right on point. I don't see any racism, any kind of other obic, ob, or ist. I don't see anything like that. You're talking about peer-reviewed studies. Since when was it racist or xenophobic or anti-Semitic to read and to repeat what you read? This makes no sense at all. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.